You can always tell when something unspoken is happening, when someone's energy shifts in a room, even if they haven't said a single word. This is especially true when a woman secretly craves a man. She may not say it aloud, she may never admit it, not even to herself. But if you're paying close attention, her energy gives her away. Women are often taught to suppress desire, to keep it hidden, to wait for the man to lead. So when attraction bubbles up inside, it doesn't always take a straightforward path. Instead, it seeps out through body language, nervous reactions, and the subtle dance of presence. She doesn't need to speak for you to feel it. When a woman is secretly craving a man, her entire physiology betrays her. Her posture shifts slightly, more alert, more open. She may tilt her head without realizing it, make eye contact and quickly break it, or unconsciously mirror your gestures. This isn't just social politeness, it's limbic resonance. On a primal level, her nervous system is syncing with yours. Her body responds to the emotional charge between you. This is deeper than attraction. It's chemistry mixed with suppression, and that combination creates a silent tension that lingers in the air. What's fascinating is how much of this is unconscious. Most women don't walk into a room thinking, I'm going to shift my energy to show him I'm into him. No, this is the body responding to emotion it hasn't been given permission to speak. It's the psychology of unexpressed longing. Her voice may remain calm, casual even, but her energy, her presence, that's where the truth hides. She may play it cool, but her pupils dilate. Her breathing subtly changes. She may lean in slightly when you talk, or fidget when you're near. And while she may try to hold back her interest, her energy exposes what her words won't. Here's something most men miss. They confuse silence for disinterest. But silence can be full of meaning. A woman who craves you silently often holds back not because she doesn't care, but because she cares too much, because she's afraid of rejection, of appearing too eager, of losing control. And so her attraction is coded in subtle behavior, wrapped in hesitation. But once you understand this dynamic, once you begin to read her energy, not just her words, you'll begin to see that desire speaks volumes, even in silence. So the question isn't just, is she saying anything? The question is, what is her energy saying when her words are quiet? Pay attention. Don't chase. Don't corner. Observe. Be present. And allow the space for what's unspoken to unfold naturally. Sometimes the loudest kind of desire is the one that never utters a word. And the man who understands this becomes the one she was silently hoping would notice all along. When a woman is secretly craving a man, one of the most telling signs, though rarely interpreted correctly, is subtle emotional shifts in her behavior around him. These aren't grand gestures or overt confessions. No, they're small, almost imperceptible changes in tone, attention, or presence. Think about it. We all regulate our emotions in public, but when something stirs us deeply, especially something we're trying to suppress, it finds a way out through the cracks in our composure. That's what makes this sign so powerful, yet so easy to miss. You may notice that her mood subtly shifts when you enter a room. She might brighten, become more animated, or conversely grow more quiet and withdrawn. Why? Because emotion, especially when it's unexpressed, creates internal friction. She wants to appear unaffected, but your presence triggers a storm of thoughts and feelings she's trying to keep hidden. And when we try to control what we feel but can't escape it, it spills into how we speak, how we laugh, how we move. Now, most men misread this. They assume a woman's emotional change is random or unrelated to them, but in reality, it's often a defense mechanism. Her slight irritation, sudden shyness, or even playful sarcasm may not be her pushing you away, it could be her holding herself back. The psychology behind it is simple but profound. When we desire something we're unsure we can have, we protect ourselves with distance or deflection. And women, particularly those who are emotionally intelligent, can become experts at this. What complicates it even further is that her reactions may not always be consistent. Some days she may seem warm, open, and fully engaged with you, other days cool or indifferent. This inconsistency isn't about you doing something wrong, it's often about her battling the internal conflict of wanting you but fearing vulnerability. She's trying to stay in control of something that, by its very nature, asks her to surrender. desire. This is where emotional maturity comes in. If you, as a man, can read the undercurrent beneath her shifting behavior without jumping to conclusions or reacting impulsively, you show a strength most men lack. You create safety. And that safety becomes the very thing that allows her to slowly open up and drop her emotional guard. This isn't about playing games or analyzing every move she makes. It's about presence, emotional awareness, the ability to hold space for what someone feels, even when they're struggling to say it. Because sometimes the heart speaks in fluctuations, not in words. And when you begin to listen on that level, you tap into a form of connection that most people never even experience. So pay attention not just to what she says, but to what changes in her when she's around you. Because in those subtle emotional shifts, she may be telling you everything her lips never will. The man who understands this doesn't just hear women, he sees them. And that, more than anything, is what she's secretly longing for. Another often overlooked sign that a woman is secretly craving you, even though she won't say a word, lies in the way she remembers and revisits the smallest details about you. It's not loud or showy. It's not her declaring her admiration openly. In fact, it's the opposite. Quiet, careful, deeply attentive. You mention your favorite childhood snack once in passing, and weeks later she brings it up casually. Or she remembers the way you once described your ambitions, your fears, or even how you take your coffee. These things stick with her, not because she's trying to collect trivia about you, but because her mind is already emotionally invested. Psychologically, when we're drawn to someone, romantically, emotionally, even spiritually, our brains begin to assign significance to their presence. That means we encode their words, their mannerisms, their preferences with more weight than we do with others. For a woman who is secretly craving a man but suppressing it, this memory retention becomes even more intense because it's her internal way of staying connected to you. She may not have the courage or clarity to express her desire outright, but her subconscious is doing the talking for her. This kind of attentiveness is not ordinary. In fact, it often feels disproportionate compared to how casual the relationship may appear on the surface. You might even find yourself surprised when she brings something up that you barely remember sharing. That's your cue. Her curiosity is not just friendly, it's emotionally charged. She's collecting these little pieces of you not for the sake of conversation, but because those fragments matter to her in ways she's not ready to admit. But here's the twist. This subtle attentiveness can also be masked under nonchalance. She might casually ask, "Didn't you say you used to play piano?" As if it's no big deal. But underneath, she's fishing for more connection, more of your inner world. It's her way of getting closer to you without crossing the line she's internally set for herself, whether because of pride, uncertainty, or fear of rejection. Now, for the man who is unaware or emotionally distant, this behavior might go unnoticed. But for the man who is present, who listens not just with his ears, but with emotional sensitivity, it becomes a quiet invitation. An invitation to engage, to lean in, to acknowledge her attention, not with pressure, but with warmth and appreciation. That's how you begin to unlock her guarded affection. When a woman remembers the smallest things about you, it's not an accident. It's emotional investment disguised as casual observation. It's her unspoken way of saying, "You matter to me more than I'm willing to admit." So pay attention to what she remembers, because often her memory is not just a recollection, it's a reflection of her hidden longing. And if you can recognize that, respond with presence and respect, you may just be the first man who ever truly saw her desire without demanding it. Another deeply revealing but easily misunderstood sign that a woman is secretly craving you, yet won't say a word, is the subtle shift in how she navigates her personal boundaries around you. Not in a way that's loud or dramatic, but in quiet, almost imperceptible allowances she starts to make. She might let you into spaces she keeps private from everyone else, her thoughts, her struggles, even her routine. You'll notice she becomes unusually open, vulnerable, or accommodating in moments when she normally wouldn't be. At the core of this behavior is emotional intimacy. And for many women, emotional intimacy is more powerful and more telling than any overt flirtation. When a woman begins to lower her guard in your presence, it's not because she's careless. It's because something about you feels emotionally safe. That safety creates a quiet invitation to come closer, though she may never explicitly say so. Psychologically speaking, humans guard what they fear may be judged, rejected, or misunderstood. So when a woman who's normally reserved starts to let you see the parts of her that are raw or unpolished, her insecurities, her dreams, even her quirks, what she's doing is testing the waters of trust. She's asking without words, can you hold space for me without trying to fix me? Can I be real here? And often, that craving for connection is veiled in behaviors that look like small exceptions. She makes time for you even when she's exhausted. She opens up about something she's never shared before, then quickly shrugs it off. She lets you see her without the layers, literally and metaphorically. This isn't just kindness, it's not just friendship, it's selective vulnerability, and it almost always signals a deeper emotional pull. But many men miss this. Why? Because we're often taught to equate desire with something loud, something flirtatious, physical, or overt. We miss that for many women, desire is expressed more in what they allow than in what they declare. Silence doesn't mean absence. Sometimes it means depth. Sometimes it means she's feeling more than she can find the words for, or more than she's ready to confront herself. So the question becomes, can you recognize when a woman is inviting you into her emotional space, not with fanfare, but with subtle shifts? Can you meet her where she is, not rushing, not assuming, but simply respecting the courage it takes to let her walls come down? Because once you learn to see past the obvious signs, you'll begin to realize that craving doesn't always look like pursuit. Sometimes it looks like quiet permission. And that's your invitation. Not to take advantage, but to respond with presence, emotional intelligence, and respect. Because the way you handle a woman's quiet surrender speaks more to your strength as a man than anything you say out loud. Remember, real connection isn't always loud. Sometimes the most powerful longing is the one that hides behind silence, waiting for someone who knows how to truly listen. Another rarely acknowledged but deeply telling sign that a woman is secretly craving you, while never saying it outright, is how attuned she becomes to your emotional state. She notices the shift in your tone, the hesitation in your words, even the silence between your sentences. And while she may not always comment on it directly, her behavior will shift in subtle ways in response to how you're feeling. What's happening here is a kind of emotional scanning. She's paying attention not just to what you say, but to what you don't say. And this isn't about being nosy or overbearing. It's because her emotional radar has locked in on you, not out of obligation, but out of desire. Craving, when it's silent, often reveals itself through a heightened sensitivity to your inner world. She starts to care deeply about your well-being, even when there's no official label between you. In psychology, this behavior stems from an unconscious attachment process. When someone begins to form an emotional bond, especially one they're trying to suppress or understand, they become hyper-aware of the other person's emotional cues. It's a survival mechanism mixed with affection. And in women, especially those who crave connection but are hesitant to act on it, this shows up as quiet concern, increased empathy, and a readiness to offer comfort, even if it's disguised as casual interest. You might notice her asking questions that dig beneath the surface. Are you okay? You seem a little off today. Or even just a thoughtful, I was thinking about you. These are not empty phrases. They are feelers, emotional probes sent out to gauge your state and her place in it. And behind each of those small gestures is a longing, not just to understand you, but to be understood by you in return. This kind of emotional attentiveness is incredibly intimate, even when it lacks physical expression. It's a form of connection that says, I see you, even when you're trying not to be seen. And for many women, especially those battling internal conflicts about expressing desire, this is the safest way to show up, by nurturing you from a distance, by holding space without making demands. And this is where most men get it wrong, because they expect grand gestures or bold declarations or flirtatious energy, but they miss that true emotional craving often hides behind a quiet sensitivity. If she's listening deeply, remembering the little things you said in passing, adjusting her energy around your needs without asking for anything in return, she's not just being nice, she's emotionally invested, is craving closeness. She just doesn't want to risk rejection by saying it out loud. So here's the insight. Pay attention to the woman who pays attention to you. Her silence isn't absence, it's reverence. Her care isn't casual, it's calculated risk wrapped in hope. And if you truly want to be the kind of man women long for, don't just hear her words. Feel her presence. Respond to the quiet longing, because that's where the truth lives, in what she gives, even when she's too afraid to ask for anything in return. And finally, one of the most powerful, yet least obvious signs that a woman is secretly craving you, but won't say a word, is how she responds to your boundaries. Not your attention, not your compliments, not even your charm, but your limits. This is where it gets psychologically rich, and frankly, where most men miss the plot. You see, craving isn't always about closeness. Sometimes it shows up in how a woman reacts when you pull away, when you prioritize yourself, when you set standards for how you want to be treated. If she's craving you deeply and silently, that moment when you create space, when you say no or pull back to focus on your purpose, doesn't push her away. It draws her in even more. Why? Because boundaries are power, and power, when it's rooted in self-awareness and respect, is deeply attractive, especially to a woman who is emotionally intelligent, self-reflective, and craving not just a man, but a man who knows himself. A man who won't bend just to win her favor. A man who can love her, want her, appreciate her, but still not lose his center. When she sees you standing your ground, not in arrogance, but in clarity, it triggers something primal in her, a deep respect, a yearning not just for your presence, but for your essence. Because a man with boundaries is a man who cannot be easily manipulated. He cannot be emotionally hijacked. He knows where he ends and where the world begins. And a woman who craves connection on a soulful level doesn't want a man she can control. She wants a man she can trust to remain himself. So watch how she reacts when you say no. Watch what she does when you're not available, not out of neglect, but out of purpose. If she adjusts, if she respects your time, if she doesn't guilt trip you for choosing yourself, she's not losing interest. She's measuring your depth. And if she keeps coming back with more softness, more curiosity, more presence, it's because she's craving, not your attention, but your authenticity. It's not always loud. In fact, it rarely is. True longing hides in silence, in restraint, in the way someone honors your emotional structure. And when a woman does that, when she accepts your emotional architecture and still chooses to lean in, that's not just interest. That's desire wrapped in dignity. So here's the truth worth remembering. The woman who honors your boundaries is the one who sees your value. And the man who recognizes this is the one who never needs to chase. Because when you stand in your truth, the right energy will always find its way to you, silently, consistently, and without a single word spoken.